Howdy there. I'm your astrologer, the wild, wise ass of the West. But not Kanye West. Good God, I'm trying to trend upwards in life, let alone on YouTube, and I've got enough problems as it is. This week we have Mercury move into Capricorn, and it will be the new ruler of Mars and Gemini, which will make Mercury want to be upwardly mobile in the world of corporate management, or just upwardly mobile by lifting us off of the couch when we are all in our collective depression. We will dryly analyze what we have to work through in order to trend better with things. Saturn in Aquarius is all about strict rules for the collective, and when we establish some rules in order to lay the groundwork for lifting ourselves up off our wise asses now that we have the answers in life, we will point our fingers in all directions and connect with who or what measures up to our exacting standards, or who or what we are trying to get to measure up to our exacting standards. The lack of ego with Saturn in Aquarius will ground us with humility if we use it wisely, and we will even be able to point the finger at ourselves if need be. So right now it's about analyzing problems that everyone has, problems that affect us all, and then putting a finger on it. We have our humble awareness of where we need to be better, what obstacles we have to work through, and when we put that message out there, we will be trending for the right reasons. And let us not forget the retrograde status of the Gemini Mars, because really we almost forgot, and forgetfulness is not tolerated with Mercury in Capricorn. So when we work through the problems of the collective right now, we will be aware of how much hard work it takes to stay adaptable, to stay hip to the times, to be relevant in the ever-changing world, to stay in shape for practical reasons and improve our functionality. And here's the motion that Mercury in Capricorn is going to be involved in, anatomically speaking, as this is my forte as an astrologer. Contracting our calves and flexing our knees, and then reaching out for things with our arms, or banging on things, or multitasking. Basically, it's like dancing the Irish jig while simultaneously brushing our teeth. We will want to reach out for things with Mars and Gemini. We might need to stand on our tippy toes to reach things on high shelves. But it's important not to show off too much. Be practical and responsible and use a ladder when necessary. Well, except for when the moon is in Leo and the sun is in Sagittarius early next week. Then the freeform party is bloody on. All right, so I'm pretty tall, and you're saying, good for you, wise ass. That's not an accomplishment or an achievement. Mercury in Capricorn is aware that that is not an accomplishment or achievement. Okay, you're right, but my posture sucks because I'm always hunching over. So with Mercury in Capricorn right now going over my ascendant, I have to be aware of how to build a better base from my knees up so I can stand taller. That would be an achievement and has some functional value to me. Plus, practically speaking, I can be helpful to my fellow shoppers in the supermarket and easily grab the astrology porn magazines they are reaching for on the top shelf without having them draw too much attention to themselves, because there is a stigma when it comes to openly reading astrology magazines in public. So I'm glad I can save them the embarrassment. Mercury in Capricorn wants to be respected and taken seriously. Honestly, life is difficult enough. So if you have the capacity and good fortune to be in a position where you could reach out and extend yourself in life, that's great. But make sure it is with a purpose, not because you are showing off. That's what the sky is teaching us right now. Saturn in Aquarius and Mercury in Capricorn shows us that we are part of something larger. And with those binding social contracts in mind, we tether ourselves to the earth. We hike the earth and point our fingers at all of the different species that surround us and have successfully evolved and adapted in the face of challenges. And with Mars and Gemini, we breathe in the mountain air. Or we imagine we are breathing in the mountain air as we watch a commercial for spring water on our cell phones. When Venus moves into Capricorn late Saturday night, it offers musicality in the form of stomping with our calves and knees and building and laying a foundation which will then propel us to move our hands. So playing the drums like you are laying down a beat for the earth is very important, especially when the tempo is driven by part of the collective spirit. But make sure the seat is the correct height so your knees don't get tight when you're drumming. All right, so I don't know what the appropriate etiquette is for naming commenters in my video. I guess it depends on their chart. But one of the commenters last week was named Jan Jan, which brought to mind the title of an obscure funk and soul instrumental song from 1968 that I always liked, titled Jan Jan, by a band called the Fabulous Counts. And I think Fabulous Counts is an appropriate name for the planetary transits this month. We should all be fabulous counts as we build the rhythm in our knees and count the beat with our fingers and hands. I think the whole world should be fabulous counts. And with Mercury in Capricorn, spell it right. There's an O in counts, you wise-ass cheeky bastards from the UK. We have to be oh so accountable with Mercury in Capricorn. and responsible with how we arrange our words with the full moon in Gemini today. So that's fabulous counts with an O. Don't mess it up. Spell it right. Include the O. So yeah, Jan. My mother's name was Jan, actually. She has, or had, her natal sun and moon in Cancer. And as I said earlier, Mercury goes over my ascendant in Capricorn in a couple of days. But it will oppose the moon as the moon goes over my descendant in Cancer on Friday. This means I will be aware that I may appear to be a calculating, overly focused tight ass who other people feel is cold and self-involved. Or maybe just a wise ass who appears dour and gloomy and needs a nurturing emotional response from others. But that's not a sufficient excuse for me to be unambitious, I suppose, because my mom would say, don't use your dead mother as an excuse or opportunity to get pity from the world. So with that, I am reminded that the sun is still in Sagittarius right now, and that this is the optimistic wise-ass astrology channel, not the Charlie Brown Woe Is Me channel. So I have to give advice on how to move forward with things. Venus is still in Sagittarius until Friday night, when it joins Mercury in Capricorn. But right now, Venus is still in the galactic center. The galactic center, as I said last week, is the most important thing in astrology because it drives the universe. And with Venus there right now, it's all about finding that universal appeal to give the galactic center a fun-loving ride that it will never forget. Yes, it is being squared and ruled by Jupiter in Pisces. So you will find the amazing universal heights of beauty if you first accept the sensitive puddle that gathers at your feet. Kick that puddle with grace so it splashes high up into the air. And then on Saturday, when Venus enters Capricorn, it will add music and rhythm to that fabulous count of Mercury in Capricorn, as it rhythmically makes a structured list of goals, starting at number 30 and working its way upward as it counts all the way to the top. All right, fine. I'll talk about Kanye's chart. I try to be above all of this, with the sun being in Sagittarius right now, but whatever. Maybe it will help people with charts and transits similar to his. I don't know Kanye's birth time. I don't see a confirmed birth time for him out there on the internet. So that limits my responsible analysis on the matter quite a bit. And with Mercury now in Capricorn, we have to analyze things responsibly. But hey, I don't know your birth times either. So Mars, the planet of action, has been transiting Gemini since August 20th of 2022 and will remain in Gemini until March 25th of 2023. People with natal planets in either Gemini or Sagittarius, and to a lesser degree Virgo and Pisces, have found this Mars energy very powerful at some point during this time. And it's important to be proactive and realize that there are many different outlets in life to connect with. If not, you may become dizzy trying to connect the dots of your anger, particularly repressed anger, with Mars being retrograde right now. So, for some context, Mars right now is at 16 degrees Gemini and the Sun is at 15 degrees Sagittarius and opposing Mars in the sky. So this Kanye guy has his natal Sun, the planet of the life path, at 17 degrees Gemini, and his natal Jupiter, the planet of ideas, at 14 degrees Gemini, almost exactly ruling and opposing his natal Neptune, the planet of image and illusions, at 14 degrees Sagittarius. So he and his natal Jupiter get their ideas from a lot of different places, apparently. I'm not saying they're necessarily good places, but these ideas keep him connected in life. And then he uses a mashup of these ideas to try to paint either a positive image or illusion, or know-it-all image or illusion, an image or illusion that comes from all the different stuff he's reading, an image that draws attention away from the source of his ideas. He also absorbs a lot of feelings from these ideas, as his natal Jupiter in Gemini both rules and squares his moon in Pisces. Now, theoretically, if he were to use his Mercury and Venus in Taurus to thoroughly read and validate the quality of all the different sources that propel his ideas, there would be no problem. But when Mercury and Venus in Taurus are lazy and parse through information only to receive pleasure, the value of quality information, the most important trait of Mercury in Taurus, gets lost. So now Kanye's Jupiter in Gemini gets exposed. And then his Neptune in Sagittarius makes an attempt to be philosophical with that mashup image that he posted on Twitter that didn't resonate with people how he had hoped it would, to say the least. So, with the current Mars in Gemini right on his natal Sun and Jupiter at the moment, there currently is a strong drive for him to fight for himself and his ideas. But his natal Mars is in Taurus, so his natural inclination is to be resolute in fighting his fight over and over again, thinking he is on stable ground, which in some cases is a good thing. But in this case, he is ignoring the signs of his crumbling empire as he only hears those that are loyal to him. Anyway, I don't know any of his music because my Mercury in Scorpio is mainly obsessed with music from the 60s and 90s. So as long as my Venus in Libra can find a happy balance of music from those two eras, the 60s and 90s, my Moon in Taurus is content being stuck there. Oh look, I was analyzing Kanye's chart, but ended up analyzing my own chart instead. Well, at least I have my priorities straight. The full moon in Gemini occurs at 11:08 p.m. Eastern Time tonight in the US, and the moon will conjunct the Gemini Mars shortly afterwards. So with this, we are afforded great spiritual perspective. We are trying to highlight that moving forward. And then we want to touch and breathe in everything around us, scanning the room to determine if the layers of our environment meet our standards. It's like having a panoramic viewpoint of the whole city skyline, and then reaching out and touching the different buildings and seeing how they are staggered at different heights. The moon will hardly be void at all while in Gemini the next few days, so the full spectrum of feelings will all be of relevance going forward. Thursday night will certainly be interesting as the moon squares Jupiter in Pisces and reflects off the beauty of Venus and the galactic center in Sagittarius, shaking hands with the universe as it opposes it, and breathing in its beauty as its expanse of love is something we want to partner with, if only for the moment, mimicking its affection as it passes through our fingers. The moon will enter the sign of Cancer at 2:48 a.m. Eastern Time in the US on Friday morning and oppose Mercury in the sky. And then at 10:54 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night, Venus will enter Capricorn. Nourish yourself and your stomach while on your hike. Don't let being a depressed loner or a miserable curmudgeon be a debilitating source of anxiety. Some emotional force out there will want to care for us, believe it or not, even if we are miserable and complaining. The moon will enter Leo at 3:08 p.m. Eastern Time in the US on Sunday afternoon, except that you have to learn how to have fun and be a star. The further you go on your journey, the more your heart will open up, and that feeling will carry you into the beginning of next week. Okay, so the Beatles said some controversial things in their time. John Lennon said the Beatles were bigger than Jesus, but I still listen to him. John Lennon, that is. But they were burning Beatles records in the Bible Belt in the US after he made this statement. So I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing most of the people watching my videos are ultra-religious Christians who live in the Bible Belt states in the US. So I hope they don't get mad at me that I still listen to the Beatles. So now Kanye is saying things that, well, I don't even want to get into what he's saying. The only thing I want to say is peace, love, stars, and listen to the Beatles, and listen to me as I search for the universal love of Venus and the galactic center at the piano.